Happy Monday, guys. Welcome to another Ricky Report. I'm Alex Espinoza with the Ricky Henderson of YouTube. Make sure to use the promo code RickyBlog at Last Dive Bar for 10% off your next order. Use my affiliate link down below. And thanks a lot to any fans who made I've had a couple huge purchases come through my referral thing. So thank you guys, much appreciated. And yeah, let's get to it. First of all, congrats to Mason Miller for being named All-Star this year. He's the A's lone representative for now, unless Brent Rooker gets called up through some injury replacement or something like that. But for right now, it'll be Miller, the 25-year-old A's rookie. Kind of makes sense. I mean, he's got the most electric arm in baseball. I think you can say that. And on Sunday, the league announced the 2024 All-Stars. And it seems like Miller will be the last representative in Oakland history. You know, Miller really kind of set the world on fire in April and May of this year. He went on a 19 1/3 scoreless inning streak. He struck out 40 batters and walked just 4 and allowed 5 runs during this thing. And I think he really became a household name. In late April when he went to Yankee Stadium, got a couple of saves there, struck out Juan Soto and Aaron Judge and Anthony Volpe and everything. I think he went on MLB Network when he was there, and I think people really started to realize this guy's super electric. I think 103.7 is still the fastest pitch in baseball. I might be wrong about that, but he threw that against the Rangers in April as well. And yeah, I mean, if you look at his baseball savant page, it's pretty ridiculous. According to this, he's got the league's top expected ERA, expected batting average against, fastball velocity, chase percentage, whiff percentage, and strikeout percentage. And after the news was announced on Sunday, the A's shared this little clip from the locker room.
It's a great honor to tell you all that Mason Miller is our All-Star this year. It's my pleasure to represent you guys and really appreciate it.
Congrats to Mason Miller. And it appears that Brent Rooker is kind of being viewed as a snub, not just in Oakland, but around the league. The Athletic mentioned Rooker as being a potential snub after David Fry got the call for the Guardians, I almost called them the Indians, the Guardians. And, you know, Fry he's kind of a utility guy, but he was listed as a DH. And I think there's a case for both guys. You know, Rooker's on his way to a second straight 30 home run season. He's got 18 homers and 54 RBIs, while Fry has 8 homers and 33 RBIs. But Fry's hitting 305, and he doesn't quite qualify to be among the league leaders, but there's only 11 dudes hitting 305 right now as I record this on July 8th. So if you're in the 300 club, that's pretty good. And so, you know, Fry's more of a contact guy, but he's got a 161 OPS plus compared to Rooker's 155. So they're pretty close. I mean, I think if Rooker was on the Guardians and had these numbers and Fry was on the A's and had these numbers, I think Rooker probably would have made it, especially with those, you know, the dingers and the RBIs. He's got really hot lately here. So I think at this point, Rooker's only shot is to make it if he's voted in or named as an injury replacement. Yordan Alvarez was deservedly the DH starter, and Fry got the pick over Rooker, but and Rooker didn't really sugarcoat his feelings. He was an All-Star last year, and this is what he told Martin Gallegos of MLB.com about the decision and him not making it. Some disappointment for sure. At the same time, there's a lot of guys around the league that are really good players that are deserving. There's always going to be people left out that probably deserve to be there. I'm disappointed, but it doesn't take away from what I've been able to do and the improvements I made to my game from last year. I'm not even using it as motivation. It's just a thing that happens. That's not a big deal. I'm super excited for Mason to go get that experience, and I'm just looking forward to finish this first half strong. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just worth remembering that when you watch the A's game or the All-Star game this summer, it'll be the last Midsummer Classic with somebody from Oakland representing it in all likelihood. I mean, I just remember as a kid getting super stoked whenever Giambi was in there, Tejada was in there, and then it makes me think of 2014 when they had 7 All-Stars named. I think one of them was an injury replacement or something, I forget, but they had 7 dudes. There's that photo behind home plate of, you know, all the A's who made the All-Star team 10 years ago, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so last year there was 3 late replacements to the AL roster, so maybe Rooker will get in there. But Miller will for sure be in there, and I can't wait to see him pitch against some of the National League's best. He's already had a lot of high-profile showdowns and come out on top, so I think it'll be cool, and baseball fans will. I think everybody wants to see Mason Miller. I mean, he's got the most electric arm in baseball, you know? And also, shout out to Mark Kotsay. The A's manager has been through a lot the past couple of years, but Bruce Bochy, the AL manager, has selected him to join his staff. So hopefully Kotsay can just enjoy and just have some fun at baseball while all this non-fun business has been surrounding his club the past couple of years. And on Sunday, this simple handmade sign from a fan, it probably took him 2 minutes to make, but it went viral. It almost got 1 million views on this original post, probably over 1 million views if you consider everywhere else it got circulated in less than 24 hours. And it was pretty simple. All it showed was the game, or like the daily highs for Oakland, Sacramento, and Las Vegas. Of course, it was 75 in Oakland, 108 in Sacramento, and 113 in Vegas. And obviously, it's just a little tongue-in-cheek. And I guess on the other side of the sign, he had a little something about how John Fisher is actually the franchise's all-time leader in steals and not Ricky Henderson. So this guy just had jokes. And obviously, it's just kind of poking fun at the situation. I mean, I don't think the A's are... There's pretty much less than 1% chance the A's ever come back to Oakland. I mean, the only scenario I envision is that if Fisher has to sell and he sells to like Lakeover or something like that, and they come back to Oakland. But I'm pretty sure they're out of here. So, but hey, we got this nice weather, and so I think it's kind of funny. Obviously, they're probably going to leave Oakland, but they're going to Sacramento, where it's going to be 108. And I think this is really the biggest talking point here is that. It's going to be 108 or 110 or even higher in Sacramento, and they're supposed to have artificial turf next year. I think we're going to be hearing a lot of stories next summer about the playing conditions in Sacramento if they end up there and play there and everything. And it actually was even hotter than 113 in Vegas on Sunday, as the airport reportedly reached 120 degrees. It's the all-time high, and that's just a few blocks away from where the A's are trying to build their new ballpark at the old Tropicana lot. So, of course, in Las Vegas, there's going to be a dome there. If they do build a stadium, it'll have a dome, so the 113 won't be as brutal as 108 in Sacramento on Sacramento turf with no dome. I don't think 110-degree temperature is going to scare off MLB from Vegas. I mean, they already have a franchise in Arizona. Actually, I used to live literally across the street from the Diamondbacks ballpark, and I don't think that there was too much foot traffic. I mean, I used to work at the restaurant right down there too. There would be some foot traffic, but a lot of it was parking garages nearby. It's not like people are just hanging out in the 110-degree heat before the ball game, or there wasn't like a huge entertainment district or anything like that around when I was there about 10, 15 years ago. So I think MLB can make it work in hot weather, cities and situations. I mean, if you can make it happen in Phoenix, you can make it happen in Vegas. But I think it kind of clashes with what Steve Hill was saying last year when SB1 was going through. During this whole legislative process, he said, because of where the stadium is located, it will be one of, if not the most, walkable stadium for attendees of games and concerts and other events. A third or so of the attendees at these games will walk from where they are staying in Las Vegas. So I don't know if he's talking about all of baseball or just all of Las Vegas. I used to work for the Pac-12, and I've covered a few men's basketball tournaments at T-Mobile Arena and kind of walked around that area outside of T-Mobile Park. They have like an entertainment district there called the Park. Really big, made for pedestrians, like a huge open sidewalks, a lot of restaurants and bars. There's like a huge open plaza around T-Mobile. And if you look at this video from USA Today from last year's Stanley Cup, they have massive crowds out in front of T-Mobile Arena in June. So, I mean, I think it can happen. It can definitely happen. But to expect that for 80 games is a whole different beast, Because, if they're expecting a third of their fans, so they have a 33,000 seat stadium. They're projecting pretty much sellouts every game. Steve Hill and Jeremy Aguero for 30 years. So that's about... they're expecting about 10,000 fans a game every day for 80 games to be walking from their strip hotels to the ballpark. This seems very ambitious to me, even if it's just a few blocks, I mean, how it is in Vegas. You're on one half of the strip, and it looks like you're close, but the sign is just hella big, and you keep on walking, and you're like, damn, that sign hasn't gotten any smaller. So I mean, maybe they'll get 10,000 walk-up fans every day, but... I think the key for the A's is they're really relying on tourism, I think, so we'll have to see how that goes. But it's also worth remembering, as it stands right now, the A's don't have an entertainment district attached to their stadium. And it sounds like Bally's is in no rush to put a resort attached to it, and they're 26 acres. So there's like a 35-acre Tropicana lot. The A's are, trying hard to get this 9-acre ballpark done, but it doesn't sound like Bally's is the one to put a 26-acre hotel in that other 26 acres because they don't have the money to do it. I covered it in detail last week. So basically, I believe, if I'm reading the language correctly in SB1, they need to have something, a development agreement agreed to by December, or the Stadium Authority has to go through the whole process again with SB1, I believe. I believe they would have to get another vote, but I'm not sure about that. But the Stadium Authority will lose its authority after 18 months, which puts it at, considering the agreement was signed in June 2023, that puts it at December 2024. So I think basically the A's are hoping that Bally's can find another investment partner or somebody who wants to build a hotel there in the next 6 months and get them signed on. Because it sounds like Bally's is content just holding on to their option and just letting the A's build up there and hopefully drive up their property value so they could sell their 26 acres later, because it doesn't sound like Bally's has enough money to do a hotel there at all. So we shall see what happens. But again, I went in depth about this last week, so make sure to go check out that video. And we have a couple more Vegas items here as well. The Nevada Independent had a new article from Howard Stutz this past weekend about the longevity of the Las Vegas Aviators, who've been around for 41 years. They've also been the Las Vegas Stars and the 51s. They've rebranded a couple times. They just rebranded into the Aviators as they moved into this new ballpark a couple years ago. So reading this article, I kind of learned that Vegas, we know about like the major league sports renaissance, but it sounds like they're also going through like a minor league sports renaissance right now. Even though 28 minor league teams have come and gone over the past few decades, in the last 3 years, Las Vegas has seen minor league franchises start up in hockey, arena football, women's volleyball, and indoor lacrosse, including the Silver Knights, who's like a minor league team for the Golden Knights, and I guess they're offering like a more affordable ticket package to their fans. So this article kind of talked about that and how the Aviators and A's are going to figure this out in the next 3 years if the A's do arrive in 2028. So, but I did think it was interesting that Stutz, he talked to the Aviators president. His name is Don Logan. He's been there a long time and kind of been running the show down there. And this is what he had to say about the A's coming into town. Stutz said that Logan is in constant contact with A's management. The A's have played a few spring training games at Las Vegas Ballpark, and he suggested the A's might play a few regular season games in Las Vegas during the next 3 years while the team temporarily relocates as the stadium is being built. So perhaps this isn't much of a surprise. I mean, the A's are just in a huge, massive state of flux. But my initial thoughts is this isn't great for players who I feel like Sacramento probably won't feel like a permanent home. I mean, I wonder, a lot of players aren't going to want to buy houses up there if they know that they're, leaving in 3 years. And if, maybe 1 or 2 homestands are in Vegas, that's like a third home or a second home team. Like, I don't know, there's just going to be a lot of moving parts next year. And I feel like the A's players are going to feel like nomads for the next couple of years if this plan goes through as planned by MLB. And, it just makes me think, too, it's, why... I know MLB had to approve the Vegas move, but did MLB have to approve the Sacramento move, or the A's kind of just on their own? As far as I know, there wasn't a league vote about this, but hey, it looks like the A's are still full steam ahead for Sacramento. And it also begs the question, why don't the A's just go to Las Vegas next year instead of staying in Sacramento? And from the outside, it just appears that the A's want to hold on to their $67 million annual deal for their TV their TV deal that they have with NBC Sports California. I spoke to an industry source who told me that the A's deal in Sacramento is pretty much going to be the same as it is in Oakland. There might be a few minor tweaks here and there, but that the A's are pretty much going to get that $67 million that has been agreed to. And according to the Sports Business Journal, the TV deal goes until 2029, so that'll carry them through this next period of transition, no matter where they're at. So I think it makes sense for them to stay in Sacramento. So, and I know it's where the A's keep hawking, 2028 opening day, but it's worth remembering that they reportedly have an option for 2028 to stay in Sacramento, and I believe 2029. I couldn't find that, but LA Times reported initially that there is an option year for 2028 on the table if the A's need to stay in Sacramento. So, and I also thought it was interesting to read comments, from Logan about, the competition aspect of the A's and the Aviators, because basically, once the A's move into town, they're going to be asking that market to support them for 150 home dates. Between two different teams, but it's kind of the same thing that's going on in Sacramento, like 150 home dates for a market. And I believe I read Sacramento's like the 21st largest media market, while Vegas is the 40th. So this is what Logan had to say. He said it's going to be a little more challenging, but our price points are going to be so much less than Major League Baseball. We have a great venue in a great part of town, and it's always about 5 degrees cooler up here. I think, having the A's in Las Vegas will impact us, but I don't think it will put us out of business. So I think it's worth noting that, the A's and the Aviators might kind of be cannibalizing their own fans, or, having their fans choose where to put their money. Like, do I want to go to a game up in Summerlin, which is about 25 minutes away up into the northwest part of the valley, or I don't know if it's a valley, but the northwest part of Vegas, or go to the Strip, which will probably be a lot harder to get to. So I see what he's saying there. I think the Aviators will probably appeal more to locals, since their tickets ostensibly will be cheaper. There'll be easier parking, easier to get in and out of, stuff like that. So it's not unprecedented to have a AAA club so close to its big league ballpark. The St. Paul Saints are about a 20-25 minute drive away from Target Field in Minneapolis. But again, it's just another thing for the A's to think about when they move to Las Vegas in 3 years. And the Aviators signed a 10-year player development agreement with the A's in 2021, so that runs through 2030 at least. So at minimum, you'd probably think, a couple years of overlap there, but maybe by 2030, maybe the A's will change their affiliate, but who knows? That's way down the road, So I've been to Las Vegas ballpark. I went there 3 years ago. I saw Chris Davis play there when he was trying to resurrect his career. It's a really cool ballpark. I like it for AAA. I think I haven't been to Sutter Health Park in probably 10, 15 years, but I would say Las Vegas ballpark obviously is built newer. It has cooler amenities. It's a great AAA ballpark, Stutz also talked to UNLV economics professor Bill Robinson to get his take. And this is what he said. He said the A's don't really have a fan base even in Oakland. The A's will be on the Strip, and it's not easy to get to. You're going to have to pay for parking, and that's going to be very expensive. The locals might still prefer to go to Aviators games. And he also added that the onus is on the A's because the differentiation of what attracts locals and what attracts tourists. So I do take a little bit issue with this quote. Like, yeah, the A's, maybe the A's don't really have a fan base anymore, but I think it's more accurate to say John Fisher is the reason, the A's don't really have a fan base. It should read John Fisher really killed his fan base even in Oakland. That's what I think. That's what I think. To give it a little more context. Their attendance is the worst, but it's also, 20 years, almost 20 years of terrible ownership by John Fisher, and it goes on way beyond that, but that's a whole nother pod. We already know about the A's history in Oakland, or some of us do at least. Maybe not Mr. Robinson, but yeah. So I think that's really the question: is Vegas going to be able to support 150 baseball games a year of the same organization? And I think the answer really lies in tourism interest. And I really don't think we'll know about tourism interest until they go through a full season, if they go through a full season in Las Vegas. So I guess we'll have to wait till 2028 to see how this all shakes out. By the earliest, And we have some more A's adjacent news, not exactly A's news, but it's kind of maybe could affect the A's down the road. But Scott Rogan of Vital Vegas sent out this tweet on Sunday regarding the Rio site, which is, Strip adjacent. It's like, just west of the Strip. He's hearing rumblings about Oakview Group eyeballing Rio. We assumed an MLB park would eventually end up there when the A's deal fall throughs at the Trop site, but it sounds like a Rio stadium would make Oakview more competitive in drawing an NBA team when T-Mobile seems the frontrunner. Deal specifics unknown, but Dreamscape's long-term plan to flip Rio could be accelerated if this scenario unfolds. This could explain the crickets at Oakview's site south of the Strip, slated for a $10 billion resort and stadium, as we hear they may have soured on that location. So last year there was this, a group called the Oakview Group announced shortly after the A's kind of whole thing went down in 2023. There's this Oakview group who proposed a $10 billion development south of the Strip at a 66-acre site. But supposedly Robin's saying that they're kind of cooling on this. So again, if the A's end up in Tropicana, this doesn't matter at all. If they get all their ducks in a row, they make it happen, this doesn't matter. However, if the Tropicana lot does blow up, and we have alluded to reasons why that may be possible, this could wipe out a potential backup plan if Oakview Group does plan to go there, so this is a lot of if this happens and this will happen. So I think this is more of a future thing to kind of keep our eye on in the future, because the Rio site has a 90-acre site. They're going through like a massive renovation right now, and supposedly Rio offered 22 acres, the same 22 acres to the A's last year for $1, but they turned it down and went with Wild Wild West, and then of course they went to the Tropicana. So now that the Tropicana lot seems like, it doesn't seem like Bally's is ever going to put a hotel up there, or at least not within the A's time frame. I wonder if they're having regrets about not taking that deal with the Rio. And it's also worth noting that, like I said, Rio's in the middle of a complete overhaul, and a longtime Vegas, I don't know if he's like a heavy hitter or what, but he's like a well-known guy in Vegas. His name is Tony Marnell, and his architecture firm is doing the Rio site, but he's also in charge of redesigning the 35-acre Tropicana lot, I believe. So maybe the A's already have a relationship with this guy, and I'm sure they've bounced off of him for some advice, Rio or the Trop. But as far as we know, the A's are still full speed ahead at the Trop to try to make it happen. But again, if Oakview decides to focus on the Rio and go there, maybe that takes out a backup plan. But maybe it opens up a spot for the A's at that 66-acre spot in south of the Strip where Oakview was initially looking. So who knows? A lot of moving parts here. Again, it won't matter at all if the A's get it all done in Tropicana, but this is something to keep an eye on in the future. And all this to say, I think there's still a few more months, or if not years, of intrigue about this whole A's situation and A's ballpark situation in Vegas. And we've been talking a decent amount about the Quakes lately, and there was some more movement with their Ultras. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on how their fans are reacting to their season over there, too. It sounds like the Quakes and the A's fans are really going through it together this year, So the San Jose Ultras have been protesting this season, and I believe they were like straight up boycotting, but they've made themselves heard the past couple weeks. You just check out these scenes from Stanford Stadium a couple Saturdays ago, when the Quakes hosted the LA Galaxy, and Ultras were there, with all these smoke bombs. It looks really cool. But then on Wednesday, the Quakes lost 2-0 to, I believe, lose their 6th straight game. And the Ultras sent out this tweet. They said, "Disgraceful, disgusting, disastrous, clean house, and keep only those who give a fuck about this club, its history, and its fans." And the Quakes are really going through it right now. And Alex Morgan of Quakes Epicenter and the Aftershock podcast also added some more context after that loss on Wednesday. He said, "San Jose are currently on track to have the worst ever season in MLS history. Not sure if key decision makers have internalized that yet." And he went on to say, the Quakes are stuck in a perpetual crisis of John Fisher's making. It's always been obvious what they need to do to improve, and Fisher hasn't given them the resources to do this. Why are other owners willing to tolerate a zombie team? Are they useful as a whipping post? I struggle to envision a future where they become relevant under Fisher. So, sounds very familiar to A's fans, doesn't it? Welcome to the club. I mean, they've really been going through it too this whole time, since Fisher owned the team the past decade plus. And it's worth noting that the Quakes have only ranked in the top half of MLS spending once. They ranked 11th out of 22, so they barely made the cut, and that was in 2016, their first season after Avaya Stadium was built. Otherwise, they've pretty much been in the bottom third of spending, even though they have a stadium that's not even 10 years old. So I think the common denominator here is John Fisher being really, really cheap. Even though he's a billionaire, it's really cheap. And on Sunday, the Quakes finally won their first game in, I believe, nearly 2 months, since May 11th, with a 1-0 win over the Chicago Fire. And the Ultras were there this time, and they really made themselves heard with these signs. And here's what the sign said: "Represent this club with pride. If you don't, just step aside. This club, for some just a paycheck, for us it's a way of life, and respect is a two-way street. So obviously the Quakes are, calling out Fisher in the front office group, and supposedly they've been trying to have discussions, I believe, and the Ultras are not, happy with what they've heard back from the front office. That's just my reading from the outside of the situation. I have no inside information or information beyond what I'm just seeing on Twitter and social media and stuff like that. But then after Sunday's win, veteran Quakes goalie William Yarbrough was asked by reporter Brian Gingrich about the frustration surrounding the team. And the Tectonic Takes podcast and Twitter feed shared this from their account. Thanks to them for sharing this.
If you pay attention to what the Ultras have been saying, like in their social media and stuff like that, they're little unhappy with the way the season's going so far. And there's been a lot of questions about, in signs today about, football means more to us than you. I don't think that's the case, but can you explain to us what football does mean to you and your teammates, about the fans, each other, and playing for the city?
I know they spend a lot of money to come watch us, and we haven't been our sharpest Saturday. All I can say, and I know I can speak for everyone in that locker room, is we, even though things aren't going the way we want them to, we're grinding, man. We're grinding. Personally, this is my life, and until the day my body says no or otherwise, I'm going to give 100% of myself to the crest I represent, to the family name I wear on the back, and obviously to all the people that come and support us.
So thanks again to Tectonic Takes for sharing that clip of William Yarbrough from Sunday. And make sure to go subscribe to them and follow them on YouTube for more Quakes talk. But, as it stands right now, the Quakes have just 14 points across 22 games played. I believe LAFC is in first place. They have 43 points, so they're just getting completely wiped. And the next closest team is 20 points. So, they're just in a league of their own when it comes to being terrible. They have a league worst goal differential of minus 26. So, Quakes fans and A's fans, you guys are not alone, unfortunately. So, all right, so that wraps up this week's Ricky Report. I also think it's worth noting Stephen Layton, a.k.a. JVB43, he also posted on Monday that there are now less than 2,000 seats remaining for the last A's game of the year on September 26th. So unless they open up Mount Davis, which might unlock another 13,000, 14,000 more seats, you might be in your last few days to get seats here. So he's been keeping track of all the sections and all the seats that are being sold, and by his count there's less than 2K remaining, and more than 40,000 have already been sold. And of course in 2019, when the A's hosted the Rays in the wild card game, they had 54,000 fans. So maybe that's what they're going to go after for the 26th, so September 26th. So thanks a lot for listening. I'm Alex Espinoza with the Ricky Henderson of YouTube. Use the code RickyBlog at lastdivebar.com, and we'll be back with more news later this week. Thanks.